Annyeonghaseyo, this is meowmurai. Let's continue our game of Despera Drops running on Nintendo Switch 2. Okay, I think we're going to go for Sally's best ending now. Yeah, let's...
何が起きるか楽しみ。その名前かわいい。これで OK?
We are... Oh, do we want to turn on the heroine's voice? Oh, I guess we do, don't we? She's a good voice actor. Prologue acquittal. I don't think any of this stuff changes, unfortunately. It doesn't like keep one game save. We're going to say, what do you do as a hacker? What is an Earth Warrior of Love? Yeah. A few times we ever see Ida. It's interesting, we run into everyone, the whole crew, before our prison adventure starts, our criminal adventure. And we're going to say thank you.
はい、ありがとうございます。いや、さすがにそこお礼言うとこじゃないと思うけど。そうだよ。いくら破れかけとはいえ、スカートを破るなんてやっぱアッシュ君変態じゃん。絶対罪状傷害じゃなくてセクハラでしょ。うせえな。うわ、何その態度。女の子のスカートをビリビリにしておいて、いくら変質者だからってその態度はないと思うな。アッシュさんは助けてくれただけですから、私は気にしてませんので大丈夫です。
If this commotion grew even louder, someone might witness us. I hurriedly pacified Sally.
それよりこれを残していったら警察側の手がかりになると思うが。
Let me see. I think we have it set to skip unread text. It should be off. Yeah, it should be off. Oh, he's right. Ash glanced at the cloth still stuck on the guardrail and knitted his brows together, disgruntled. He placed a foot on the rail. With a single strong swipe, he forcibly tore off the remaining cloth. Only a few threads and scraps were left dangling. Okay. I think this part's all the same. Look at our crew. And then we're going to say, I can't bring myself to sin more. I was determined to prove my innocence. Committing crimes during that process would defeat the purpose. For now, I was only borrowing this space to avoid my unjust pursuers. I want to keep my sins to a bare minimum. That's how I felt right now. Hearing that, Gib lightly shrugged his shoulders.
無事に逃げ切る以上に重要なことがあるならそうすればいい。結局は君自身の人生だ。強要するつもりはない。
いや、僕は強要するよ。
Rami seemed livid. He stood up, pushed me by the shoulders, and forced me to sit at the table.
人間は食べないといつか死ぬんだ。
I'm gonna say, thanks, Rami.
ありがとう、ラミー君。
He was so friendly that I caught myself giving him a nickname without thinking much of it. It was rude of me, since we'd only just met.
ごめんなさい。ありがとうございました、ラミーさん。
いや、言い直さなくてもいいから。見た感じ年もあんまり変わらないだろうし、ラミー君の方が僕は嬉しいかな。
そうなんですか？
あと、その丁寧な言い方もいらないから。なんだか落ち着かなくてさ。
そうそう、ラミー君なんてただのガキなんだから気を使わなくていいって、お姉ちゃん。
いや、お前は少し僕に気を使った方がいいと思うけど。
お姉ちゃんだけひいきするとか、ラミー君ずるい。
Rami and Sally began bickering, and the atmosphere livened up immediately. Thanks to them, the murky haze that had been clinging to my heart began to clear away. Frank looked on edge as always, but Rami's cheerful smile steadily lifted the weight off my shoulders. We continued dining as a group, and a while later, Frank stood up. Perhaps he was done with his meal. Oh, I keep forgetting this was the name we first knew him as Frank. Instead of Hamiel, he retrieved his own belongings from the bag of possessions, which he'd left on the floor, before walking to the entrance.
どこへ行くつもりだ？
Okay, this stuff is the same. No, I've changed my way of thinking.
考え方を変えました。
考え方を変えただと。
はい。今は自分の無実を証明するためにも、無事に逃げることを優先します。
結局昨日は善人ぶってただけってことか。一晩で本性が出たな。
Frank stared at me with scorn.
結局はあんたもこっち側だったってことだ。
No, I'm not, were the words that nearly leapt out, but I swallowed them. No matter what I said now, they would only be excuses. Perhaps he lost interest when I didn't object. He didn't make any other comments.
何はともあれ、逃亡生活の初日から手作りの朝食が食べられるとは幸運というものですね。しかも日本の女性のもしかして作ってくれたのは日本の朝ごはんというやつですか？寿司、うなぎ。
Oh, okay. That's normal. And then we're gonna leave this here. Is the bike that impressive?
それってそんなにいいバイクなんですか？
And then we'll create a save here, and this will be our common save where we can start all of our other routes. But we'll start off here, and then from here, if we want to play another route, we can start back on save number 1. Okay, we do know this conversation. And this time we are going to pick Sally.
サリーにお願いしようかな。
If possible, I wanted to stick with the other girl in the group, and I turned to her. But seeing her frame was even smaller than mine, uncertainty welled up.
と思ったけどサリー、バイクの運転できる？
As I looked back and forth between the large bike and Sally, she puffed out her chest with overflowing confidence.
任せて。サリーは子供の頃からパパの車を勝手に乗り回してたんだから、バイクの運転もお手の物だよ。
おいおい、違法じゃねえか。
そういうのって親の監督不行き届きってやつで子供は罪に問われないんじゃないの？
さあ。
では不測の事態に陥った場合はミラノのドゥオーモで合流するとしよう。何も起こらないことを祈るがな。
Duomo. He means Piazza del Duomo at the heart of Milan, right? Is it really okay for us to show up in a place like that? Completely unaware of my anxiety, everyone followed Geep's command and filed into the car. Was I really fine with this outcome? Though I had the urge to hesitate, with everyone in a hurry to leave, I ended up climbing into the sidecar. The seven of us split into the cabriolet group and the bike and sidecar pair. We headed north for Milan on the highway. Just in case, we drove side by side at a distance where we could communicate with each other if we shouted. However, perhaps because it was just after the news report about us, lots of police cars were patrolling the highway. Agitation shot through the group.
これこのまま行っていいわけ？
え？引き返した方がいいんじゃないの？捕まっちゃうって。
いや、検問しているわけではない。止められないよう普通に走行すれば大丈夫なはずだ。
でも近くにいると顔が見られてしまいそうですし、急いでここから逃げた方がいいのでは。
バカ。こういう時は派手に動くとかえって怪しまれる。あくまでバカンスを楽しむ友人同士のふりをするんだよ。
って何速度上げてんの？
せめてバイクと車で他人のふりをした方がいいような。
あっちの声全然聞こえないんだけど。
It was hard to hear over the roar of the road, and since we were still basically strangers, we didn't cooperate well. The situation spiraled out of control.
警察がこっち見てます。急がないと。いや、逆走した方が。
逆走はするな。
速度を落としてください。でないとスピード違反で捕まって。
We swerved left and right between the lanes, driving conspicuously. Sure enough, how we earned the police's attention.
そこの車両、止まりなさい。
うわ、やば。早く逃げるよ。
The police sirens were now focused on us. When I turned to look, one police car was pressing nearer, lining up to intercept us. If they caught up and saw our faces, they'd realize that we were the wanted fugitives. It seemed that for the first time, we all shared the same sentiment. No one had to say anything. In the same instant, both the car and bike took off. And so the car chase began. The police cars edged closer and closer. Despite that, Sally was the picture of calm as she drove. She sailed right and left, avoiding the cars while skillfully pulling ahead. Taking advantage of the cover of another car, she snuck to the highway exit. Startled by her cheering, I turned over my shoulder. There wasn't even one police car on our trail. We truly lost them. Her driving technique was incredible.
やっぱサリーたちが軽くてバイクの速度出せたからだよね。絶対これハミー君たちじゃ無理でしょ。やっぱ可愛いは正義だね。
Cuteness, huh? True, Sally was cute, but she was also quite hardy. She'd won a car chase and made it look easy, and she'd also severed her chains smoothly. On top of that, she was a hacker, a criminal. What kind of circumstances would transform a normal girl into a girl like her? Sally just grinned triumphantly as she effortlessly steered the bike. And so, we resumed our journey to Milan as a pair. On July 17, 2028. Eventually, we arrived at Piacenza, the city right before Milan.
かわいい街。ねえねえ、ちょっと休憩していかない？そうだね。休んでいこっか。
Though I was only sitting still, we'd been driving non-stop. I couldn't deny weariness had settled in. Seeing my nod, Sally jumped off the bike and skipped straight into a restaurant nearby. Wait, by short break, she meant eating out? I worriedly chased Sally. By the time I arrived, she had already plopped down at a terrace table and started making an order.
まずはパスタと、それと食後にはこのケーキとカフェオレね。お姉ちゃんは何食べる？じゃあ、サリーと同じもので。
Put on the spot, I copied Sally's order. She added a few more items, then flopped onto the table listlessly.
疲れた。こんな長距離移動初めてだよ。ごめんね。サリーに運転任せちゃって。でも頼もしかったよ。ありがとう。でしょ？サリー結構バイクの運転するの得意なんだ。それよりそろそろ東京の話してよ。東京って言ってもあんまりサリーが好きそうなお店には行かなかったんだけど。せっかく日本にいたのに？じゃあどこ行くの？みなとみらいのショッピングモールとか。
As I replied to her barrage of rapid-fire questions, the food we ordered was served. At the mouth-watering aroma of the pasta, my stomach announced its hunger. But I couldn't fight my reservations about digging in. I didn't have any money on me.
サリー、私財布が戻ってこなかったからお金持ってなくて。なんだ、そんなこと。心配しなくて大丈夫だよ。それよりほら、食べよう。早くみなとみらいの話教えてよ。
I assume that means she'll cover for me? Seeing her face brimming with confidence, I stuck to that conclusion and began dining. Nothing was more relieving than having hot food in my stomach. I enjoyed my first leisurely conversation in a while as we ate. Once I was done with the cafe au lait, my mind went to the order slip on the table once again.
それで支払いはどうするの？
I asked her nervously. In response, Sally tilted her head and gave me a meaningful smile.
もしお姉ちゃんがウェイトレスやってたとして、可愛い女の子が2人でご飯食べてたらどうする？特に気にしないと思うけど。つまりそういうこと。
With a sweet and brilliant grin, Sally caught my hand. Then, to my shock, she broke into a run. Huh?
ほら、乗って。
Sally practically stuffed me into the sidecar. The next moment, the bike accelerated dramatically. Old dine and dash. No way. Is this what they call a dine and dash? Oh. I whipped my head around, but the staff at the restaurant hadn't noticed a thing.
ね、可愛い女の子2人だから誰も警戒してないんだよ。やったー、成功。
I ended up committing a crime again. I was horrified to the point of speechlessness. My charge of murder was unfounded, but now genuine crimes piled on my shoulders. I was becoming aware that the hope of my realizing my goal was dim, but just in case, I added the name of the restaurant to my list of places to compensate. We finally arrived at the Piazza del Duomo.
この広場かわいい。見て見て、鳩がいる。
Sally dashed around Piazza del Duomo in high spirits. Just like Gib had said, Milan was a lively city that seemed an appropriate hiding place from police surveillance. Together we headed all the way to Duomo, the meeting place we'd chosen in case we'd ever got separated. I prayed that everyone would be here as I walked forward, and within moments someone familiar entered my view.
二人とも無事だったか。
皆さんもご無事だったんですね。
なんとかね。事故もなかったし、あのカーチェイスの後に命があるのが奇跡だよ。
バイクも無事みたいだな。
よかった。
ってちょっと心配してたのはバイクの方なの？サリーたちの無事を喜んでくれてもいいんじゃない？
Seeing everyone talk boisterously, reassurance washed over me in waves. We'd managed to find each other. When we'd first met, I thought of them as scary criminals, and now I was happy about our reunion. It was a peculiar feeling. But right now, they were my comrades striving for a common goal. With that, we tentatively celebrated the fact that we all made it safely. Chapter 2, Determination. Italy, July 17, 2028, 11 a.m. Milan, Monday, Piazza del Duomo. Now what? After meeting up with the others, I took a look at our surroundings and noted the crowd of tourists. Duomo could be said to be the most famous tourist attraction in Milan. A part of me wondered whether it was okay for wanted fugitives like us to be out in the open here, but the people nearby didn't take notice of us at all. Gib had said that being in a big city actually helped you avoid attention. I can see that for myself now.
あの子のファッションかわいい。どこで売ってるやつかな？
はあ、こういう場所こそ僕の出番って感じなんだけどな。
それよりそろそろ移動しませんか？ここに立っていると人目につきそうですし。
そうだな。ひとまず潜伏できる場所を探そう。行くぞ。
潜伏できる場所ね。空き家でも探すか？
いや、空き家は真っ先に捜索が入るはずだ。宿泊施設がいいだろう。しかしこの人数だ。コンドミニアムでもあればいいが。
ミラノならいくらでもありそうですが、問題は立地ですよね。目立たない場所となると路地裏とかでしょうか。
頼むからあんまり不衛生なところはやめてくれ。ゆっくり休めもしないからな。
そんな贅沢が言える状況ならいいけどな。
The most pressing question is, how are we going to cover the lodging fees? We walk through the streets of Milan, each of us stewing over our individual concerns and plans. Italy, July 17, 2028, 1350, Milan, Monday, condo, living room. Several hours later, after hopping here and there across the city, we managed to check into a condo hotel that was clean, cheap, and on a back street and could fit 7.
おお、結構いい部屋じゃん。腹減ったし、まずは何か食い物手に入れに行こうぜ。
それより先に部屋割りだよ。こっちの一番可愛い部屋はサリーたち女子部屋ね。で、こっちの地味な感じの部屋がパパさんで。
誰だよパパさんって。
チブさんのことだけど、みんなもパパっぽいし。
パパさんと呼ばれたのは初めてだ。
僕ではなくてよかったです。
それよか、先生ってとこじゃないのか？
どっちでもいいだろ。
人事だと思って好きに言ってくれる。しかしパパさんとはな。
I don't think this matters so much, huh? We'll see. I think it suits you.
似合ってると思います。パパさんという呼び名。
そうか。まだそんな年ではないと思っていたが。確かにサリーから見たらそうなのかもしれんな。
He let out a sigh of resignation.
それになんだかんだでみんなをまとめる役をやってくれてますし、サリーも頼りにしてるんだと思います。
Gib had reined in Hamiel, who snarked and fought whenever he had the chance, and Ash, who kept trying to leave. We wouldn't have stuck together without him. I didn't know how long this life together was going to last. Quite a while. But he was the most dependable of all of us.
そうだろうか。
はい、他のみんなもジブさんのことを頼りにしてると思います。
Saying that I was relying on him. Saying that while I was relying on him would be too presumptuous, so I finished my sentence there. He seemed convinced, though.
さて、気を取り直して、まずは今後の計画だが。
サリー、ショッピング行きたい。ミラノと言ったらファッションの街でしょ。行きたいお店がたくさんあるんだ。
おいおい、勘違いするな。ミラノには観光に来たわけじゃないんだ。目立つ行動をするなよ。
ああ、まず考えるべきは資金調達だ。我々は全くの無一文だからな。
Right, none of us had any money whatsoever. In the bag of our confiscated belongings, we'd found most of our wallets. Though we still had our IDs and ATM cards and such, all our cash had disappeared.
たく、500ユーロは財布に入れてたはずなんだがな。どこですられたんだか。
押収品は運転席にあったからな。おそらくあの運転。
Oh, I guess we could skip this stuff here. This is all the same. This time we are picking Sally. I feel most reassured with Sally, but the issue was I wasn't confident in our chances of success. Though I was conflicted, I looked at Sally, and she tilted her head.
サリーと行く？いいですか？
Just in case, I looked to Gib for confirmation. He nodded solemnly.
まあ、大丈夫だろう。彼女とてこう見えて十分立派な犯罪者だ。情報収集能力には長けているだろうし、誰もこの二人が指名手配犯だとは思うまい。
テレビでのサリーの顔写り悪かったもんね。あんなのと同じだって思われたらサリーの方が困るよ。
決まりだな。
じゃあお姉ちゃん行こう。サリー、ミラノに着いたら行きたいとこあったんだ。
おい、ちゃんとカジノの場所を探してこいよ。
わかってるって。ほらお姉ちゃん早く。
Sally raced off with a spring in her step, and so I ended up heading into the streets of Milan with Sally to gather information. Italy, Milan, July 17, 2028, 14:51 Monday, Galleria. When we got outside, we found the streets swamped with huge crowds of tourists. Two girls like us easily blended into the landscape, just like I thought. We were perfect for throwing off the police and passers-by.
あ、チームウェア着てる人いる。チームウェア？ほら、あれってミラノを拠点にしてるサッカーのクラブチームのユニフォームでしょ。
I followed her line of sight. Sally was looking at a group of flashy people who were wearing uniforms and even had paint in their hair. According to her, they were the supporters of the corresponding soccer club. Usually Sally only talked about fashion, so the topic of soccer felt novel.
サリー、サッカーも好きなんだね。あ？サリーは好きじゃないよ。え、そうなの？
Our interacting just now seemed really bizarre then. I thought that in the back of my mind as we strolled down the streets together. I considered how we could scout for something like an underground casino. As I surveyed our vicinity, Sally raised her voice.
あった。もう？
Sally sprinted away in high spirits, and I followed her into a shop. It turned out to be a boutique. 見て見て、このワンピー。
裏カジノの情報なんてあるの？え？そんなのないよ。じゃあさっきあったっていうのはサリーのお気に入りのブランドショップだよ。ミラノにあるって聞いてたから絶対行こうって思ったんだ。
Oh.
それよりほら見て、これなんてお姉ちゃんに似合いそう。
She gushed over the clothes as she held up a dress to my body. The hem fell just above my knees.
思った通り超かわいい。ねえねえ、こっちは？サリー、私たちお金もないし早く情報集めに行かなきゃ。もうそういうとこだよ。お姉ちゃんってばそんな性格してる。
We couldn't afford them, so what was the point in browsing? In response, Sally poked at my cheek with her finger.
でもせっかくミラノまで来たのに楽しまなきゃ損だよ。ほら鏡見て、こんな可愛いのに。
Under her insistence, I looked at the mirror. An adorable brand new dress was held up against my reflection. Fully decorated with lace, the dress wasn't something I'd normally choose, but it was pretty when I looked at it like this. I couldn't fight a smile.
可愛いね。でしょ？せっかくだから楽しもうよ。それにずっと気を張ってたら疲れちゃうでしょ。
She gave me a bright grin. Was this her way of showing concern for me? Did she think that I was tired from our relentless life on the run?
あ、待って、こっちのワンピもやばい。絶対お姉ちゃん似合う。お姉ちゃん肌綺麗だし黒髪だし、こういう色似合うと思ってたんだよね。
Sally fetched one outfit after another and enjoyed herself by holding them up to me. She honestly seemed like her main goal was simply having a good time. And I couldn't deny that my mood brightened when I saw pretty clothes. For the very first time during this whole escapade, I was kind of having fun.
この色ならサリーにも似合いそうだね。そうかな。サリーだったらこっちの色の方がいいと思わない？
Sally picked up the same dress in a different shade.
ほらほら、これならサリーとお姉ちゃんでお揃いにできるよ。
She smiled with delight. Our interaction almost deluded me into thinking that we'd come on a normal shopping trip as two close friends. The reality was that the girl in front of me was a wanted criminal charged with cybercrime, and on paper, it was even worse, a murder suspect.
ああ、お金があれば欲しい服だって買えるのにな。あ、それかラミー君がいたら手に入れてくれるかな。
Is she implying that she wants Rami to steal for her?
ダメだよ。今は見てるだけでも十分楽しいし。ほら、サリー、こっちの服なんてどう？
To nip her criminal ideas in the bud, I decided to dive into window shopping and enjoy it with everything I had. After that, Sally took me on a tour around the boutiques in Milan. Italy, Milan, July 17, 2028, 1700 hours, Monday, Piazza del Duomo. The day flew by, and before I knew it, it was time to return to the condo. In the end, all I did was let my hair down.
ああ、楽しかった。お洋服買えないのはつまんなかったけど、可愛い服見るとテンション上がるよね。
In contrast to Sally's rapture, I'd grown distressed. We hadn't learned about any casinos. I was worrying about what to do when Sally suddenly peered into my face.
どうしたの？落ち込んで見えるけど。カジノのこと調べそびれちゃったからどうしようかと思って。なんだ、そんなことか。そんなのネットで簡単に調べられるよ。
Sally sat in one corner of the Piazza del Duomo and fished out her laptop from her bag. She began typing at a stunning speed. Her expression focused in a snap, a stark contrast to before, as she worked. A few minutes later, she shut her laptop with a pleased sigh.
おしまい。え？今のって 裏カジノの場所を見つけたよ。だからもう大丈夫。今ので分かったの？もちろん。サリーは天才的なハッカーだもん。手に入れられない情報なんてないよ。
Grinning triumphantly, she slid her laptop back into her bag. It would have been nice if she told me that from the beginning. Still,
ミカ、今日のデート楽しかったね。
Sally was practically bouncing as she walked. Seeing her overjoyed smile made me feel as if spending the day this way was worth it after all. Her smile spread to me, and I nodded as the two of us returned to the condo together. That evening, all of us ventured to the unlicensed casino we'd found. Italy, Milan, July 17th, 2028, 21:15 Monday, Galleria.
たく、何が楽しくてこんな野郎どもと団体行動しなきゃならないんだか。
仕方あるまい。誰か一人に任せれば持ち逃げするだろうし。かといって私には任せられないのだろう。
そりゃ真面目で考えていることが全部顔に出やすそうなおっさんじゃ、カジノのカモになって一発で終わるからな。
僕ならちゃんと勝って戻ってくるけど。
大怪盗を信用しろって？それこそ無理な話だ。俺だけじゃダメって言うならアッシュと二人でもよかったんだぜ。
それこそ二人で山分けをして逃げる気だろう。
He isn't denying it.
まあ全員で移動している方が何かあった時に対処しやすいですからね。
かといって役に立たなそうなやつまで来る必要はなかったと思うが。
サリーもカジノをやってみたいもん。
監視カメラをハッキングしてごまかす必要があるかもしれないしな。
俺が言ってるのはそっちのお上品なお嬢様の方だよ。
Hamiel stared daggers at me. He didn't seem happy about my presence in the slightest. I'm not thrilled to be here either, but in all honesty, I couldn't wholeheartedly trust the others with the job, not only because of their flight risk, but also their predisposition for crime. If they won big, they might have fought over the money. If our funds ran to zero, Rami definitely starts stealing. It'd escalate into a nightmarish event. They'd cause an uproar, which would lead to the cops being called, and we'd all be arrested in the end. That was one scenario I wanted to avoid.
足手まといにはならないよう気をつけます。
どうだか。
でもまあ男ばっかじゃ警戒されそうだしさ。僕は姉ちゃんも一緒の方がいいけどね。
ああ、ディーラーを油断させるには必要な手札だ。
ビギナーズラックというのもありますしね。
Oh, hey, Metal Wolf. We had that exchange as we descended into the casino. Unfortunately. Okay, this stuff is part of the original. Run to our reporter friend. Get caught by Rebecca. Let's see, 12:27. We have already played mission mode, so we can skip it this time around. Italy, Milan, July 18th, 2028, 1:35, Tuesday, condo, living room. A while later, Gib, Hamiel, and Kamu returned to the condo.
やれやれ。 男と二人でミラノを散歩なんて全然心が躍らない夜だったよ。
警察もうろついてましたし、ちょっとヒヤッとしましたね。
だが特に見とがめられなかったはずだ。ラミーとアッシュはまだか。
はい、実はレベッカさんが予想よりも早く帰ってきてしまって。
I'd kept an eye on the cameras ever since, but Rami hadn't appeared in front of Rebecca's room even once. Something must have gone wrong after all. Just as unease began to rise in my chest, I heard a bike coming to a stop outside the condo.
お待たせー。
When I saw Rami and Ash walk in, my heart relaxed at once. I could breathe easy now.
よかった。無事だったか。
それで例のブツは？
じゃーん、こちらでございます。
Rami held up his hand proudly. In his grip was a key with a silver tag.
安心して。現場でこいつが外れるのを確認したから、ちゃんと本物のキーだよ。
Oh, that's right. They got the key to remove the cuffs. We'll ask if Sally can use the TV for now, since, you know.
カミュさんは何度も見てるならサリーに譲ってあげたらどうでしょう。スポーツはテレビで見た方が楽しいでしょうし。
さすがお姉ちゃん、わかってるね。ということで神くん、リモコンを渡して。
いやー、せめてこの合体シーンが終わるまでは。
Okay, we actually picked this last time, so this is not new. I know, I picked a wide variety of choices, which is probably why we ended up with a bad end on our first playthrough. You gotta be very strategic about what you pick in these visual novels. What you think is the best answer is not necessarily the right answer. Then we'll do I'll praise you.
褒めてほしいなら私が褒めてあげるよ。
Again, we actually picked this one. So we definitely have seen this portion of the game. And
少し休憩しましょうか。これで問題ありませんか？
in this case, we will pick Sally.
もし疲れてないならこのままサリーにお願いしたいんだけど大丈夫かな？
As fellow girls, I felt most reassured when with Sally, and the drive ahead was going to be peaceful. I wanted to be with her if it wasn't a bother.
全然疲れてないよ。それじゃあ早速出発しよう。
よろしくね。
We pulled back onto the motorway, crossed the border, and entered the bounds of Switzerland. The car and bike advanced down the motorway side by side. There wasn't a police car in sight. With any luck, our journey now would be relatively pleasant. However, the gunshot earlier was still ringing in my ears. It had saved us from our plight, but it was still a gun, a weapon. I'd heard another gunshot today, too, when that woman attacked me. The reminder made me queasy. I'd strayed into a harrowing world. what's going to happen to me from now on. I didn't know when that lady would appear again. Maybe because of fatigue, even my sense of fear felt numbed. My fingertips, sweaty with stress, grew cold. I took off my gloves, put them in my pocket, and rubbed my trembling hands together. Weariness caught up with me all at once. I couldn't think straight. All I could do was admire the scenery in a daze. That was how exhausted I was, which meant that Sally, who was driving the bike, must have been beat. Yeah, I could switch roles with her at some point during our journey. Thinking that, I looked at Sally, who glanced at me and smiled.
さっきはちょっと大変だったよね。疲れた？
うんちょっとサリーは大丈夫？
大丈夫だよ。体力には自信あるから。ミカは寝てていいよ。
少し休憩しましょうか。
これでいいかな。
Okay, well, why don't we stop it there? This is meowmurai. You've been watching Despera Drops, running on Nintendo Switch 2. This is the Sally route, so we've established a nice common save for us, but we're going to go for the good ending for Sally. It would be really weird to want to go for the bad ending. We will circle our way back around to Rami after we've kind of gone through all the characters to get his good ending. But for now, let's go ahead and work through Sally's good ending and see what terrible things happen to Sally, because that's part of the game. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.